In this video, we're going to be doing the foundations and footings for the area of the plan that's in this zone right here. You should have a series of levels created. I'd like you to go to the top of footing level, and that's where we're going to be doing our work. So the foundation and footing will go from column 2B right here, and we'll form a square over to 4D, and then we'll come back. The first thing to do is to change the view range, because we're going to start to draw some things on this level and we want to make sure that they appear. So once you're in top of footing level, scroll down to where you find view range. And we're going to change a few values here. For this top one, we're going to be able to see things all the way up to level 1, which is at 0, 0. So if I put 3'6" above the top of footing level, I should be able to see everything. For the bottom, we'll make it all the way down. So we'll leave that as unlimited, and also the view depth is unlimited. Now the cut plane, if it's 4 feet, it's going to be too high. It'll be above the level 1. So we're going to drop this down to 2 feet 6 inches. And we may change this later, just so you can sort of see what the difference might be. But for now, let's do these settings and then apply them and say, okay. Now you won't notice anything's changed, but once we start to add some content, certain things will be visible. Now keep in mind that the content that we're going to draw for this series of exercises associated with this video, everything is basically below ground. It'll be covered with dirt. We won't have any basements like you might have in a typical building. Basically, we'll have slabs on grade. So everything that we're drawing will eventually at some point be covered with dirt. The first part of this is going to be drawing the foundation walls. So you'll see some images of that in the tutorial explanation. You're going to go to Structure tab here, and under Walls, Structural Wall. And when we click on this arrow, you'll see that there are a number of types. Our foundations will be made out of concrete. So you want to click on Foundation 12-inch concrete. And we're actually going to make them thicker than this. And the reason for that is we're going to be building some masonry walls that sit on top of them, and we want them to be at least as wide as the masonry part of the wall. So to make this change, you're going to go to Edit Type. And a couple of things that we're going to do. We're going to make a duplicate, and we'll call this 18-inch concrete. Get rid of the 2 here. And that's just changing the name of this wall type. We also need to change the structure. So I'm going to change the value to 1 foot 6 inches and say OK. And again, to change that width, you would click on this Edit button right here and say OK. OK. Once you come over here to the Properties window, we're going to make a few setting changes. The default is for the foundation wall to be drawn at its center line. So if I click at these intersections, it's going to center the wall on those. But I'm going to be adding some masonry later, a brick wall on the exterior face, and I want it to align with that exterior face. So I'm going to change this to finish face of exterior. And then I'm going to change some of these heights as well. I want my foundation wall to go from the top of the footing up 3 feet 6 inches. So I'll just leave this top constraint up to level top of footing and leave this as 3 feet 6, and it should actually go up to level 1 and hit apply. All right, so now I'm ready to draw these foundation walls. And keep in mind that when you're trying to align the exterior face, you want to go in a clockwise direction. If I went in a counterclockwise direction, it's going to flip the walls so that the exterior face is on the inside. So clockwise, I'm going to go to snap here and snap here. And I'll just go around here to here to here. Now, as I do this kind of detail work, I like to be able to see the relationships of the components relative to the levels. So what I'm going to do is add a section cut through the building. So I'm going to go to the View tab here, and here's my section marker, and I will just cut a line across the building. Now, as you can see, it is looking downward, and I want to flip it so it's looking not necessarily downward. I want it to look north. So I'm going to click on these double arrows and it will turn it around. What you should see is that a section has been created. If I come over here into the project browser and click on that plus, there's a new section. So when I click on here, I can go in and look at the work that I've done so far. Okay, so here are these two very short foundation walls. And as you can see, they're aligning with these column lines, and that's going to be the face of my brick above. So now I'm going to go back to my top of footing. Okay. If you go to structure, and then you click on, under this foundation panel here, if you click on the wall, it's going to default to a bearing footing that's 36 inches by 12 inches. I'm going to edit that type, and I'm going to create a duplicate. The duplicate is going to be the same width, but I want to make it a slightly deeper footing. So I'm going to call it 36 inch by 18 inch footing. And in the foundation thickness line here, I'm going to change this to 1 foot 6 inches and say okay. Right now, I'll just go around and click on these 4 walls. And when I go back to the section, I should see that some footings have been created. Going back to my top of footing level, the last part of this foundation work is to make a pier in the middle of this. So it's going to be a pier and it's going to have its own footing. We'll use one of the components that's already in the template file for this part. If you go to the architecture tab and click on column architectural, you should see that there's a rectangular column that's 24 by 24 inches. And I'm going to edit the type, make a duplicate, and I'm going to call this one 24 by 24 inch pier. And I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to alter the material to be concrete. Cast in place gray concrete. And say okay. Right, the depth and width should remain as 2 feet, and I'll click on OK. All right, now I'm going to place this at the intersection of column line 3C. Right, now we'll go back to the section, and we're going to probably need to make some changes to its relationship. Maybe, maybe not. That looks okay. It's going from level 1, which is here, to my top of footing level. Right now, all I need to do is add a footing for the column. So I'll go back to my top of footing level. All right, when I go to structure and I look for an isolated footing, which is what I'm going to need here, it's going to look similar to what you see there. What it's telling me is that nothing has been loaded yet. So if I want to bring that in here, I need to go to Insert, Load Autodesk Family, and search for footing. So you'll see there's one here that is a rectangular footing. And any of these components or details that are in 3D mean that they'll come in as a three-dimensional component to the Revit file. Some of these are actually 2D components that you might use when you're doing some more detail work. But I'm going to click on the footing rectangular and click on load. Right now, when I go back to structure isolated, you can see that a footing has been brought into the file. And as I've done before, I'm going to make a duplicate. This one, I'm going to rename, I want it to be square. So I'm going to make it 60 by 60. And it will also be 18 inches deep. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and make some of these changes here. This is going to be 5 feet. Same thing as 60 inches. Feet. Okay, and click on the intersection of 3C. And let's go back and take a look at the section. There it is. There's the footing that is now below this pier. Go back to top of footing. This foundation is now complete.